So, since parenting from a child-centered approach is based, on the relationship that we have with kids or the relationship we have in being with kids, um, something that can be super helpful with creating that attachment, that secure bond, and just really building that relationship is having specific traditions or rituals or just things that your children recognizes, oh, this is stuff that our family does, right? Um, and so having those special things that are just unique to your family or to your child, those sorts of things is super important, right? So, just some ideas and some of the things that maybe we do in our family to kind of help you think of stuff that might be helpful for you and your kids is bedtime is a great time for a sort of, nightly tradition or ritual. Um, and so, our children's bedtime during the summer is a little less structured, which maybe, is probably not the best. But even though maybe we're not going to bed at the same time, sort of a thing, and things are a little out of order, one thing that we do is, I sit in my kids' bedroom with them still. Again, I have an 8-year-old and a 4-year-old, but I'll sit with my 8-year-old and I'll pat his back, or he snuggles up next to me as I sit on the edge of his bed. And we talk a little bit about the day, what was something good that happened today? What was something maybe that made you sad or frustrated or mad? Um, what was your favorite thing about the day? Whatever it may be, right? So we talk a little bit about that, um, and we say a prayer, and then I just remind him, and I try to be good about saying this every night, that I'm so glad I get to be your mom. I love being your mom. I'm so glad you're in our family. Um, and so, just despite what had happened throughout the day, again, I'm in the trenches with y'all as well. I'm not a perfect parent. Sure, I can give ideas and kind of teach on these things and remind you and myself about these things. I'm not perfect at executing them. So mistakes happen and things go awry and I lose my temper and I have to apologize to my kids and that's okay. But when we get to the end of the day, I want my kid to know regardless of what happened today, I'm so glad that you're in our family. I love being your mom. It's a joy to be your mom. I love you no matter what. I'm so glad I get to be your mama. And so that's something that I try to do every day. Um, and bedtime, like I said, is a great time to do something like that. Especially if you have multiple children, it's easier if they have different bedtimes. Like mine, I only have 2 kids, so I don't have to juggle too much. Um, but so I can get a little bit of that one-on-one important special time with each kid, and I can remind them of that. Um, One thing that my kids know that I try to do almost every day when we're driving to school or when we're driving to our activity, and sometimes I forget and it's the end of the day, part of our bedtime sort of discussion, but what are you grateful for? What are 5 things that are a blessing to you right now? And it's really cool to see the things that are important to our kids and that, mean a lot to them and that they're so grateful for. Because gratitude is a super important thing. The research shows, how important it is on our overall happiness. And so I just really want that to be kind of a ritual or a tradition that I start early with my kids. Because regardless of how much money we have, regardless of the toys that we have, or whatever, there's always something to be grateful for. And so that's something that I'm hoping through our daily sort of ritual of doing gratitude to teach them and reinforce in them. Um, for birthdays, something that you can do is, a tradition, and I've heard other people do this too, is when it's someone's specific birthday, obviously that's their special day, right? But when you're at dinner or whatever it may be, kind of going around the table or going around, if you're having a family sort of get together party sort of thing, having everybody say like something awesome that they love about that person, right? And that can be really something that people look forward to. It's like, oh, it's my birthday. I get to hear like some really positive, cool things about myself. Like, I'm so excited for that. Um, and, all sorts of tradition sort of stuff can feed into birthdays and those special holidays and things like that, right? So, whether it, something that I have done, and I'm kind of like, oh, do I want to keep doing this? But the Eagle Library is awesome, and I don't know if they're currently doing it with all the COVID stuff, or if they've maybe they fully open up again. Um, but they have things like cake pans. They have some strange things that you can check out from the library, which is really cool, actually, like fishing poles and stuff. Anyways, but I have checked out cake pans from them, and it gives you directions on how to decorate. So I did a Spider-Man one, I did an Elmo one. Like, it's kind of cool. But so, anyways, that's kind of a pseudo sort of tradition that I've started, and that amateur baker mom, is going to go to the Eagle Library and check out a cake pan and make this silly cake, right? And who knows what it's going to turn out like, but it was made with love. So, just little things like that, the quirky things that we do, and it's like, oh gosh, I did that last time. Maybe we should do that again. Another thing that we do on Christmas morning, I know a lot of people do like cinnamon rolls or casserole or whatever. Well, we bake a cake and we celebrate Jesus' birthday, so we have cake for breakfast. I mean, obviously, if you don't subscribe to that faith or whatever, that's not going to be something that you do. But, that's something that we have found with our faith and our religion that we do on Christmas. And that is a tradition that we do now every year. And our kids are like, oh, what kind of cake are we making, for Christmas this year? So it's kind of fun. Another thing too is really, when you first see your kiddo for the day, like when they're waking up, and then when you're saying goodbye to them or when you're saying goodnight to them at the end of the day, those pivotal moments of saying hello and goodbye, making them special, and making them feel like, oh, I'm really going to miss you. I hope you have an awesome day. Just really like encouraging them and making hellos and goodbyes special and important and positive. So, just finding little things that you do. Maybe you have like a secret handshake that you do with your kids, or, my daughter, all I have to do is this, and she runs to me and gives me a big hug. And I just know now, and she knows, like, if I do this, she just comes running. And that's what we do when we say hello, like when I pick her up from daycare or whatever. Um, so what are the things that you do in your family when kids first are getting up in the morning, or when you're picking them up from daycare or from school, when you're telling them goodbye or good night? How can we start their day off on a really positive note, and how can we end their day on a positive note so they're not going to bed feeling stressed out, feeling upset, so they're not saying goodbye when you're dropping them off at daycare and they're upset. Or frustrated or whatever. So just looking at those really important transition times for our kids and how we can make them special. Something that my husband does, much to my chagrin, is the kids love, love, love having bedtime stories with Daddy. My husband, we're both trained in theater, but he also does improv. And so he likes to just make up stories off the top of his head. And of course, kids love the potty humor sort of stuff. So, all sorts of wild things happen in these bedtime stories. And then they ask me to do it, and I can't make up stories like that like Daddy does. So that's, like a ritual or a tradition that our kids have with just Daddy. And that's okay, because there's going to be things that Mommy does that Daddy doesn't do, and vice versa. And that's awesome for them to have their own special things together. There might be things that you do with one kiddo that you don't do with another, and things that you do with that kiddo that you don't do with the other. And that's important too, right? Because our kids are different. They have different needs, different wants, different interests. So being flexible and tapping into those things to connect with them and build that relationship is awesome. And it's going to look different for every child and for every parent. Some things that our family likes to do is video games. We grew up with, I had an Atari actually as a kid, but, we were probably at that first sort of generation that really got, the Nintendo and everything else that followed after that. But, and so kids these days, they love video games. So, you know, even if it's not video games, what is something that your kiddo loves that you can jump in, and whether you're horrible at it or you're amazing at it, what is something that of theirs that they are interested in, that they love to do, that you can be like, yeah, I'm going to learn how to do that. I'm going to get a skateboard and see if I can do some tricks, right, at the skate park or a scooter or whatever it may be. And really taking an interest in the things that your kids take an interest in, showing, gosh, this is important to you. I'm going to look into it and I'm going to try it because it matters to you. So therefore, it's important to me. And so as a family, we like to play video games, and so we get together the Mario Kart or Zelda. Uh, I don't know, there's all sorts of games. I'm currently taking a class on how to use Minecraft in the classroom setting, right? Because kids are so, um, they're into that right now. So if there's a way we can hook them in, for me, it'd be like social emotional learning in the classroom. How can I use something that they like love, and would be excited to do, but how can I put my social emotional curriculum or the things that I think are important to teach them, and how can I do that using something that they love, that they're engaged in, that they're interested in, that they will, that they'll do willingly. They won't be dragging their feet to do it. And so again, just finding those little things, um, you know, to to grab them, to hook them, to show like you matter, you're important, the things that you like to do and the things that you think are important and cool. Like I want to get to know because I love you and you're important to me. So what are those things for you and your family and your kids? Um, and then another one, my kids just love, love, love to read. I think the earlier you can start a tradition of reading with your kids, the better. Um, it's a great way to spend that one-on-one time while also building their academic skills, and such an important skill too, right? Like reading, if you can learn to read, and like there's nothing you can't learn, right? I don't know, it's amazing. I think it's so cool. And luckily, both of my kids really enjoy reading. And I know that's not, true of every kid. And so, but I think the earlier that we start with them, we can kind of hook them and show them that, like, yes, it is exciting. And, books aren't all boring. We just got to find the kind of books that you like, right? And so, having that one on one time where they're reading to you or you're reading to them. My daughter, she's 4 again, and she loves the Piggy and Gerald books, right? And so it's kind of fun because we tag team. So one of us will be Gerald and one of us will be Piggy. And we kind of turn it into like a little reader's theater, right? Where we're kind of acting and we're very full of expression. But it's a fun little thing that we do, but it also helps our academic skills of learning how to read. So that's cool too. Um, so that's just something that I encourage. Like reading books together can be awesome. My son is a pretty advanced reader, and some of the books that he enjoys, is like Wings of Fire. Like he's really into dragons. Any dragon series out there, he's all about. And mostly I read, stuff that I can learn from, right? But I'm like, man, my kid's inspiring me to want to read for fun, just like some novels and stuff, right? And so I'm thinking, and he has read aloud to me in the car. He'll ask, Mom, can I read this to you? And some of the books that I'm like, ooh, that sounds good. Maybe I should start reading that series with him. And that's something that we can do together, is read through. Um, Levin Thump is the book that he started reading to me. I'm like, ooh, that sounds kind of cool. So, maybe that's a new tradition that we'll start, is reading through a series together and being able to share that and talk about that and discuss that and then be excited when something similar comes out or another book comes out. So yeah, I guess those are just some of the ideas that I have for you, in building those rituals, those traditions with your family. Those are going to be the things that kids remember. They're going to look back when they're 25 or 45 and say, oh, do you remember that time like we did this? Oh, I loved that. And, it's kind of cool too. And I haven't gotten to that stage in my life, but I can only imagine, as if I am lucky and get to be a grandparent, seeing my kids kind of pass down some of these traditions and rituals that we did together as a family to their own kids, and seeing what new ones they start with their kids as well. So, um, anyways, I hope some of those ideas have been inspiring and helpful and encouraging for you and your family. But yeah, I'd love to hear what sorts of things that you do in your family, because you might inspire me to start something new. So feel free to share. I'd love to hear.